Have you ever paused mid-conversation and felt a knot in your stomach, wondering if those sweet words were a trap? If so, you're not alone. In this video, we're uncovering 5 deceptively innocent-sounding phrases that conceal manipulative tactics designed to erode your confidence, drain your energy, and hijack your emotional freedom. By the end of this video, you will recognize the red flag phrases that signal a refusal to grow or take responsibility. Understand the psychological games rooted in Carl Jung's shadow concept and Stoic wisdom. Learn powerful, practical responses that break the cycle of emotional manipulation. Reclaim your inner power by setting unshakable boundaries without guilt. Equip yourself with clarity and self-mastery tools to build genuinely healthy, respectful relationships. Safeguard lasting self-worth by trusting your intuition. Stay with us, because missing even one of these insights could leave you stuck in a pattern of excuses, guilt trips, and passive-aggressive silence. Watch until the end, and you'll not only spot these dangerous phrases on sight, you'll also gain the confidence to respond with strength, integrity, and unwavering self-respect. Let's begin. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. You have to accept me as I am. At first, that phrase can feel like a balm, a warm, reassuring promise of authenticity. You might even feel a spark of relief, thinking, finally, someone who welcomes me exactly as I am. But beneath that comforting veneer, my heart aches at how dangerous those words can be. When a man leans in with that line to excuse hurtful behavior, it becomes a siren song of complacency, luring you into an emotional trap. I've seen friends swallow painful apologies and twisted justifications, believing this was true vulnerability. But Carl Jung, whose wisdom pierces straight to the core of our souls, reminds us that genuine self-knowledge is only the starting point. Real transformation demands that we shine a light on our darkest corners, our shadows, and refuse to hide there any longer. This statement so often appears after you've already sensed the warning bells, subtle manipulation in his tone, a swift dodge of responsibility, or a passive-aggressive remark that left your spirit bruised. And when you finally muster the courage to speak up, to gently ask him to look inward, he instantly flips the script. Suddenly, you're the villain guilty of wanting change, of challenging his comfort zone. But here's the raw truth I wish every woman could hear. Loving someone doesn't mean you should accept the unacceptable. True authenticity calls for bravery, the kind that fuels growth, not stagnation. Marcus Aurelius once urged us to live each day as if it were your last, without laziness, without pretense. I feel that conviction pulsing through my veins. A woman on a journey of self-discovery, a conscious soul committed to her evolution, should never be asked to row the boat alone, while her partner refuses even to dip a paddle in the water. Accepting that mantra, "This is just who I am," without holding it up to the light dooms you to a heart-wrenching cycle. Empty promises, repeated apologies, and an unbalanced emotional ledger where you're always the one giving and forgiving. The Stoics believed our surroundings shape our destiny. If you share your life with someone who stifles your growth, who refuses to call out his flaws, he's effectively caging your potential. So the next time those words slip from his lips, don't be hypnotized by their soothing cadence. Ask yourself, fiercely and unapologetically, is he truly ready to look inside, or is he cleverly camouflaging a stubborn refusal to change? If his declaration hides a relentless avoidance of accountability and a defensive shield against improvement, you're witnessing a toxic pattern that will only fester with time. And trust me, that's just the beginning. Once you accept who he is, the floodgates open for other destructive behaviors, more excuses, more broken vows, a growing imbalance where you bear the emotional weight alone. Prioritizing your peace isn't selfish. It's an act of love for yourself. You're not on this earth to rescue someone who fears the work of self-reflection. You deserve a partner who meets you as an equal, who celebrates his growth alongside yours. So stand firm in your values, let your integrity guide you, and remember, it takes true courage to love someone and yourself enough to refuse complacency. All my exes were crazy toxic. Hearing those words can feel at first like harmless venting, as if he's simply airing out old wounds. But my heart breaks at how cavalierly that phrase can mask something far more insidious, a deep-seated refusal to look inward, a chronic victim mentality that drips with emotional immaturity. I've seen too many women nod sympathetically, only to discover later that this mantra was a smokescreen for projection and blame. According to Stoic philosophy, real growth begins when we examine our judgments rather than railing against circumstances. Epictetus himself taught that it's not events that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. Yet when a man absolves himself of every misstep by painting all his past partners as villains, he's sidestepping the mirror and denying you the chance to see him. Carl Jung warned us that whatever we refuse to make conscious will shape our destiny from the shadows. In my experience, those who speak with venom about every ex are usually echoing their unresolved wounds and fragile egos. This phrase betrays the mindset of someone who clings to victimhood like a security blanket. Instead of owning mistakes, they recycle blame, dramatize every detail, and secretly expect you to be the one person who gets it without ever disappointing them. But ask yourself, with full honesty, is it truly possible that every single former partner was the problem? Or is there a painful pattern he can't or won't acknowledge? A woman who values herself can't ignore that red flag. Jung famously said, "What we deny submits us." And navigating a relationship built on shifting blame is like trying to build a home on sand. The cruelest truth? Sooner or later, that same tale of toxicity will be retold about you. A man who needs a scapegoat will always need one more. Being in that kind of relationship is like rowing a boat with a hidden leak. No matter how much love and effort you pour in, you're slowly sinking. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. This is where emotional self-discipline becomes your lifeline. Look past the words and question the pattern. Has he ever confessed his faults in past relationships? Or does his narrative only spotlight what was done to him? If he can't admit he played a role, why would you trust he'll ever change? Remember, you are not a therapist. You deserve a partner who stands shoulder to shoulder with you, not someone who drags you down into their sea of blame. You're here to share your journey, not to endlessly pick up the pieces of another's unresolved past. If you really loved me, you'd do what I ask. Hearing those words whispered in the name of love can feel strangely sweet at first, like an endearing plea straight from the heart. Yet, my chest tightens whenever I think back to the countless times I've seen that tender tone twist into something suffocating. What seems like an innocent request is often a treacherous emotional trap, a masterclass in subtle blackmail. I've felt that sting myself, the momentary rush of wanting to prove my devotion, only to wake up later feeling hollow, as if my own needs and boundaries had quietly slipped away. Stoic wisdom reminds us that genuine love isn't something you demand, you invite it. Epictetus's words echo in my mind, "No one can enslave you emotionally unless you allow it." And here, in this deceptively gentle clause, lies the very rope meant to bind you. True affection thrives on freedom, mutual admiration, and respect, not on guilt or coercion. When a partner frames obedience as proof of love, they're weaponizing your compassion, turning your heart into a bargaining chip. Carl Jung's teachings on the shadow reveal even more. This kind of demand is often born from his own fear and insecurity. Instead of facing his inner turmoil, he projects it onto you, conditioning your love with an invisible ultimatum: only if you comply are you worthy of me. I've watched friends break themselves down, layer by layer, in fruitless attempts to satisfy endless demands, always one more test, one more chore, one more favor to prove their worth. And with each concession, their authentic spark dimmed just a little more. I refuse to believe love requires a license. An emotionally mature woman knows the difference between a heartfelt request and a thinly veiled demand. When you give in, thinking you're being generous or selfless, you actually surrender your authenticity, your personal power, your very essence. Worse yet, the appetite for control only grows. What starts as a small concession becomes a full-time pattern of emotional submission. If you ever sense that ache in your chest, that hesitation in your voice, pause. Take a deep, grounding breath. Remember that you are not here to justify every choice, to perform for someone else's approval, or to sacrifice your peace on the altar of another's insecurity. You deserve a partnership where your heart is treasured, not negotiated. You deserve to express yourself freely, to hold firm to your values, and to be loved for exactly who you are, no strings attached. If you really loved me, you'd do what I ask. When those words float toward you, they can feel achingly tender, like the sweetest plea from someone you care about. I've been there, heart thumping, wanting so badly to prove my loyalty that I nearly let those syllables reshape my reality. But behind that velvet tone lies a subtle noose, woven from guilt and coercion. It isn't a request for mutual support. It's an ultimatum that quietly erodes your autonomy with every yes you utter. Carl Jung reminded us that authentic love is never possessive. It's an offering of shared freedom. And the Stoics, from Epictetus to Marcus Aurelius, warned that true affection can't be imposed with threats of emotional punishment. Epictetus's words still ring in my ears. No one can enslave you emotionally unless you allow it. I learned the hard way that allowing herds your spirit into a cage, one brick of compliance at a time. You might feel torn, caught between the ache to please and the spark of your own integrity. That internal tug-of-war is your soul's alarm bell, urging you to stand firm. For me, choosing to honor my values, speaking my truth, even when it made his face darken, was the moment I reclaimed myself. I discovered that a partner who truly loves you listens, empathizes, and respects your boundaries, even when your desires diverge. And then comes the cruel twin, "You're not enough for me." Those 5 words can feel like a blow to your very core. I've known the sting, the sudden collapse of confidence, the desperate urge to apologize for simply existing. Yet this phrase isn't an honest critique. It's a projection of his own insecurity, a desperate bid to keep you chasing an impossible ideal. Marcus Aurelius's admonition, "Do not let another man's soul rule over yours," became my lifeline. I learned to ground my worth in my own virtues, my compassion, my resilience, my unwavering sense of self. So if you ever hear either of these phrases, pause. Breathe in your own truth. Your worth is inherent, not up for negotiation. True love doesn't wrap guilt around your heart. It celebrates your freedom, your strengths, your imperfections. Guard your emotional freedom fiercely. It's your most precious gift. And never forget, you deserve a love that uplifts you, never one that demands your sacrifice. Someone who compares you to an ideal you can never quite reach, who belittles your accomplishments, or suggests that you're fundamentally not enough, isn't offering honest feedback. She's setting you up for an endless chase. It's a cruel game where your love and loyalty become the currency, and you'll always come up short. I remember the sinking feeling in my chest when I first realized I was scrambling to satisfy someone else's moving goalpost. One day I wasn't accomplished enough. The next, my very smile was deemed insufficient. That constant shifting of standards isn't about love, it's about control, a tactic designed to exhaust your spirit until you're left doubting your own worth. A conscious woman, one who has spent years gathering her strength, refining her values, and nurturing her inner light, does not beg for affection or scramble to prove she measures up. We don't exist to be shaped into someone else's fleeting fantasy. I believe with every fiber of my being that you deserve a partner who sees your unique brilliance and cheers you on, rather than one who dims your radiance with criticism. You're here to grow alongside someone who inspires you to become the best version of yourself, not to shrink into a mold that someone else formed. So if you ever hear the words, "You're not enough for me," stop. Close your eyes, take a deep, grounding breath, and remind yourself of who you truly are, a person of value, integrity, and boundless potential. Don't fall for the trap of assuming you must change to secure someone's love. That insecurity is his burden to carry, not yours. Carl Jung's wisdom resonates here. You cannot make someone see your light if they are only searching for their shadows. And the Stoics echo this truth. Your peace and self-respect are priceless, far more precious than any attempt to squeeze yourself into another's ever-changing shape. True confidence blooms when you learn to validate yourself, to trust the quiet voice of your intuition that speaks of your worth before anyone else ever does. There is no greater tragedy than allowing someone, especially a partner, who weaponizes your insecurities to define your value. When they say you're not enough, understand it as a reflection of their own emptiness and need for superiority. This phrase isn't about uncovering flaws. It's a relentless tactic to erode your self-esteem and keep you tethered to their approval, which will never be fully granted. Emotional discipline means refusing to let hollow words strip away the fortress of self-trust you've built. I've learned, sometimes painfully, that holding firm to your principles, even when your heart trembles, is the most courageous act of self-love. As Seneca taught, the greatest power is self-mastery. That mastery begins the moment you decide to reject the crumbs of validation disguised as constructive feedback. So stand tall, center yourself, and remember, the problem isn't you, it's his need to feel superior at your expense. Walk away with grace, knowing your worth is measured by your own standards, especially by the unwavering light of your own soul. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. And then there's the final, most insidious trap. Do whatever you want, uttered with ice-cold irony or simmering resentment. It sounds like permission, but it's a cleverly disguised demand. I cringe when I recall the first time I heard those words and mistook them for freedom. In truth, they're an ambush, a black hole of guilt and confusion. Carl Jung spoke of how the shadow manipulates from behind the scenes, and this phrase is a textbook example. He isn't sharing his true feelings. He's forcing you to guess, then punishing you when you inevitably misstep. In the Stoic view, healthy relationships thrive on clarity and directness. Ambiguity isn't kindness. It's a weapon. Never play that guessing game. Respond with firm boundaries, or simply walk away, because your emotional freedom and inner peace deserve nothing less than unwavering respect. Stoic philosophy teaches us that healthy relationships thrive on honesty, clarity, and direct communication. Seneca captured this beautifully when he urged, "Speak in a way that your words don't require interpretation." Think about that for a moment. How many times have you sat across from someone, deciphering riddles in their tone, guessing at hidden meanings, and wondering which version of you they want you to be? I've felt the frustration myself, my heart pounding, as I strained to read between the lines, only to end the conversation more confused and emotionally drained. When someone casually tosses out, "Do whatever you want," with that faint edge of irony or resentment, they're not granting you freedom, they're setting a trap. You're forced into a guessing game. Should you call their bluff? Should you ask for clarification? Or should you simply tread carefully, tiptoeing around their unspoken expectations? Day by day, each ambiguous remark chips away at your peace of mind, until you're no longer following your own compass, but theirs. An emotionally intelligent woman refuses to get pulled into that shadow play. The most powerful response isn't a heated retort or an overload of explanations. It's literal action. Do exactly what you said you would do. Walk away. Finish your cup of tea. Go for that walk. Send that email without a trace of fear or guilt, and without a whisper of justification. You don't owe anyone an explanation for honoring your own choices. That single act of self-determined behavior shatters the manipulative cycle. It either forces the other person to drop the game and speak plainly, or it leaves them alone with their passive-aggressive silence. Both Carl Jung and the Stoics agree that true freedom lies in living with clarity and authenticity. Jung reminded us that the more we bring our shadows into the light, the less power they hold over us. And the Stoics taught that freedom begins the moment we stop reacting to every emotional provocation and start choosing our responses. Choosing your own words, your own boundaries, and most importantly, who truly deserves your energy. When you respond to do whatever you want with decisive, unapologetic action, you send a crystal clear message. You are not a puppet for emotional games. You are the author of your own life. And that realization that you can say yes or no on your own terms is the first step toward reclaiming your inner peace and honoring the values that define you. Choosing to respond with unwavering clarity or to simply walk away when the air crackles with hidden agendas is far from being cold or unfeeling. It's the purest expression of emotional intelligence. In my experience, the moment you refuse to get tangled in someone's web of half-spoken threats and unspoken demands, you reclaim a powerful piece of yourself. It takes courage to say, "I won't play this guessing game," especially when silence and stone-cold stares threaten to make you doubt your own worth. Yet that refusal, that act of self-respect, instantly breaks the manipulative cycle and draws a bold line in the sand. You will not tolerate anyone toying with your heart or mind. Stoic wisdom champions this stance with admirable simplicity. We are taught never to waste energy trying to decode what another person lacks the backbone to articulate directly. Ambiguity is a control tactic, a shadowy invitation to walk on eggshells, and a conscious woman, much like a Stoic philosopher, will always choose clarity and consistency over confusion. I've learned that inner freedom blossoms the moment you stop reacting to every emotional bait and start choosing your own path, your own words, and your own boundaries. Hold fast to your convictions. Act with quiet firmness, and remember above all, the man who truly cherishes you won't resort to manipulation, coded language, or emotional fog. Real, healthy love stands in the light. It doesn't hide behind games or riddles. When your thoughts, your words, and your actions align in honest harmony, you build an unshakable sanctuary of inner peace. That sanctuary, once established, becomes your guide through every storm of uncertainty, and it reminds you, day after day, that your emotional freedom is your most precious treasure. And that's a wrap on today's deep dive into the subtle yet powerful phrases that can undermine your emotional freedom. We've uncovered how statements like, "if you really loved me," or "you're not enough," aren't expressions of love, but tactics of control, and how you can respond with clarity, courage, and self-respect. Now it's your turn. What insight has struck you most so far? Which warning sign will you be watching for? And how will you put these strategies into practice in your own relationships? Let me know one key takeaway you'll bring into your daily life in the comments below. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support helps us create more content that empowers you to protect your peace and live authentically.